Welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's tech guest, but as always, we're going to give a shout out to our sponsors. So stick around for 3 minutes. These are all great companies. Listen to the shout outs, then listen to our Tech Tuesday segment, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. When I became an AD, I made sure our school was a Huddle school. Our coaches loved it. Our student athletes loved the videos. Our parents loved the streaming, but there's a lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the 8 million users. Turn your school into a Huddle school. We want to thank Hometown Ticketing. It's the leading digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. I don't think I need to say anything more. Go to hometownticketing.com for more information. We want to thank Vital Signs Wall of Fame. If you're looking for a really cool way to display your school record boards or your school's Hall of Fame, go to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and take a look at their interactive touchscreen video consoles. It's also a great way to share your school's unique history and your proudest moments. The website is vitalsignswalloffame.com. We want to say thanks to Gipper. Your students are on social media, and if they're not seeing content that celebrates their accomplishments and promotes your program, you're missing out on a great opportunity. Go to Gipper.com. They'll have you creating world-class content in seconds, and it's so easy, even I can do it. That's Gipper.com. We want to also thank Snap Raise. Have you ever spent weeks and weeks with a fundraiser and then been disappointed in the results? Well, those days are gone. Go to snapraise.com. It's hands down the best online fundraiser out there. We used it at our school. Our coaches loved it. Our parents loved it, and it works. Go to snapraise.com. Start using SnapRaise as your school's fundraiser today. We want to thank Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's from Ohio University, but my assistant AD did, along with thousands of others. And it was a great experience, very affordable, just 20 months, totally online. And while you're earning your master's, Ohio University also includes 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Go to ohio.edu/info/MAA. We want to thank Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and schedule a live web demo to see their score boards and their score tables in action. Probably one of the best purchases I ever made was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Check out all their great products. We'd like to thank Home Campus. Home Campus is a platform you're going to use every single day. Things like scheduling, results, rosters, communication. How about student athlete eligibility and clearance? Who doesn't do that every day? Home Campus does all of these things and more, does them better, and it does them faster. To get started, just go to homecampus.com. That's it, homecampus.com. And we'd like to thank Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. Athletic directors already get feedback, but a lot of times it's from a very small group that just wants to complain. Athletic surveys will connect you to that group, but they're also going to connect you to the 98% that support your program. And having that data is incredibly valuable, especially when you're talking to a frustrated parent, maybe your principal, or even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another segment of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. Regular listeners know that one of our favorite things to do is help aspiring leaders, whether they're ADs or in the world of athletics, or breakthrough leaders, have a little bit of a platform to share their story. And that's what we're doing today. Our guest today is Kade Nix. Kade is currently an undergraduate student in the Texas Tech Sport Management program. He and I connected a while back when I was asked to do a Zoom for one of his sport management classes. Just had some great content, some great questions. And Cade, even as an undergrad student, has already made some tremendous inroads into the profession. And I want him to share with our listeners today just some of the things that he's doing. So, Kade Nix, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thank you for having me. Yeah. Um,
Well,
like I said,
oh, I was just going to say, let's let the listeners know a little bit about your background. You know, where were you born? Where'd you grow up? All that stuff. We're going to get into some really cool things that you're doing, but what's the Kade Nix origin story?
yeah. So I was born in Abilene, Texas, and I've always grown up around sports. Me and my family, sports has been a big part of my life for a long time. And then I came to Lubbock to go to Texas Tech University, and I enrolled in sports management. I just wanted to get involved more, but all throughout high school, I was always involved in sports heavily. I created like an ESPN type student-led organization for the I went to GymNet High School, and so there's a GymNet student section broadcasting, so it's student-led, and it's like just basically an ESPN for the school. That's led to like a social class for sports, and they've built that up from there. But yeah, I've always been involved in sports, and I've always loved sports, and that's why I've come to Tech to pursue that goal.
Now, I've got to ask that what you just described is something that I encourage athletic directors to do at their own school. Because I know it was that way at the schools where I was a coach and an AD. We have students, some are in sports, some are not, but you have students that are just, they love that kind of stuff and they're masters of technology, where sometimes the AD might not be that gifted in those areas. Was this something that you went to your school leadership, your athletic director, your coaches, and presented, or did they reach out to you to create this at your high school?
Yeah, so originally it just started with me kind of taking videos and uploading pictures and stuff of the sports to a social media. And then it kind of grew from there, and we got students involved. We started doing halftime shows at basketball games. And then the athletic director did come up to us and he said, "Hey, I want to, keep this going, and like after you graduate, and I want to keep it going. So let's implement something to make this a long-lasting thing."
Oh, well, that is so cool. And athletic directors, if you're listening, I guarantee you've got a student like Cade at your school. You probably have five or six that would love to do this type of thing to promote your athletic program. So reach out if you haven't already done so. See what you can do to get a student led, with your oversight, of course, athletic promotions program. Kate, again, we have you know, we have veteran ADs, veteran coaches, um, some of who have not done, even close to what you've already accomplished as an athletic undergraduate student. Let's go and talk first about what you're doing for the Hula Bowl. Now, growing up in Oregon on the West Coast, that was one of our big, bowl games that we paid attention to because the Pac-12 athletes, Pac-12, there's no longer a Pac-12, they were participating in the Hula Bowl. So what are you doing with the Hula Bowl and how did that get started?
Yeah, so right now I'm an area scout for the Hula Bowl, so I cover mostly Texas region because there's a lot of colleges in Texas, and so I work in that region and I go to scout games live, and then kind of report back to them. But I got into scouting, um, just it was something that I always loved. I always loved the NFL draft, and it always intrigued me a lot, and so I started to go down that path when I got here, and I created a website where I put all my scouting reports, my personal stuff, my personal rankings, stuff like that. And then I reached out to people in the Hula Bowl and I sent them to my website and I told them I was interested, and they, hooked me up with an internship that eventually grew into this position. But it's been really fun. I've been enjoying it a lot.
Oh, I can just imagine for somebody who's a football fan to be able to take that passion and then do something within the sports world, that's got to be cool. Now, I'm putting you on the spot here. As you continue to do this, any chance you're going to be flying to Hawaii to see that hula bowl in person?
I hope so. I know that, the first year, I don't think it's very common for them to fly everyone out, but I'm hoping, I maybe an exception to that, but down the road, I definitely hope to be able to go.
I'm sure, like anything else, if you start sending them, scouting reports on players that pan out to be, the real deal, and I don't expect anything otherwise. They're probably going to be saying, "Hey, let's get Kate over to Hawaii." Um, Podcasting. Okay. Everybody in America, it seems, has their own podcast. I do, you do, but how did that get started for you? And what does your podcast focus on?
So, I mean, originally it was just, another way to get out my ideas and my opinions on players and prospects in the draft. And so that's just how it started. I would just talk about guys I liked scouting wise, and then eventually we started having interviews with prospects, trying to get their name out there, and we kind of learn their story and put their story out there and advertise them. And so it's just kind of grown, and now I mean it's about the draft, it's about the NFL season, it's about college season, so it's definitely expanded from what it started with, but we're still focusing mainly on like NFL draft scouting, prospect interviews, stuff like that.
Well, that's really cool interviewing the prospects. What's been one of your favorite interviews so far?
Last year we had a linebacker named Jordan McGee from Temple University, and he was drafted in the fifth round by the Commanders, and he's been doing really well in camps and stuff like that, from what I've heard and what I've seen. So he was a great one. He was he just was cool with us and talked about his passion and how he's grown, and so that was a great one for us.
Oh wow, that's very exciting. We'll do this at the end of our interview, but what's the name of the podcast and what platforms can our listeners find it on?
So it's called The Draft Room, and it's on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, pretty much anywhere you can find your podcast.
Okay, just like the Educational AD podcast. Very cool. All right. Um, I in the last year or two, I've taken my blinders off, where I was solely watching ESPN, and I've expanded my viewing to the NFL Network. Well, you're already there. You're writing for them. How in the heck did that happen?
I mean, I just reached out again. I'm looking to always expand my resume and get more stuff on there. And I've always liked writing, especially about sports. It's something I've just always had an interest in. And so I saw an opening on, I think it was LinkedIn, sent in my resume and told them my goals, and got hired by them.
Okay, give us the short version of, surely it's posted somewhere online, but what's one of your features or articles that you have written that's been published on NFL Network?
So for now, I think the majority of my articles are surrounding net worth of players, and what it looks like. So like contract breakdowns and stuff like that, and it's all on profootballnetwork.com. So you can all go, look at those. But for the majority, it's about contract breakdowns and net worths and kind of behind the scenes stuff with the players off the field.
All right, contracts. I got to ask you about the Cowboys and the paid out Lamb's contract. They just did Dak's contract. I mean, in your opinion, and you're in the industry, okay, so you've got a good opinion on this. Did they overpay Dak? What are they going to do now with Micah Parsons? Do they pay him
Yeah.
early so they can save some cap space? You seem to be a pro at this. What's your opinion of the Cowboys organization, how they're doing contracts?
I thought they would have signed Micah first before anyone else, and obviously that's not how it worked out. And I'm not a Cowboys fan. I know I'm from Texas, but I'm not a Cowboys fan. But I didn't expect Dak. I don't think. I mean, you can look at Dak, and I don't think anyone can tell me that he's not a little bit overpaid for what they paid. Um, I mean, yeah, I think Cowboy fans have to be honest there.
Well, I guess we're all going to see. I mean, there's no question he's an incredibly gifted quarterback, but they seem to measure quarterbacks by championships, and that's the one area that the team has come up short in. Um, I've mentioned this a couple times, just for context. You're currently an undergraduate student at Texas Tech University in the sport management program. You're a writer. If you could write this script, okay, where is Kade Nix going to be post graduation in 5 or 6 years? What do you see yourself doing? What would you like to do, maybe?
Yeah, I'd like to continue down this road of scouting and end up in an NFL front office one day. So, kind of working my way up through those ranks, starting out, a scouting assistant is where I'm trying to head. And then, from there, become an area scout, a national scout, and then um, work my way up through the executives.
Well, one of the things we like to pride ourselves on with this podcast is making connections, and you've certainly done a great job for yourself. One of our regular contributors is a guy named Nathan Whitaker, and among other things, he was in the front office for the Jacksonville Jaguars. He was in the front office with the Tampa Bay Bucks when they won a little thing called the Super Bowl. And I'm going to connect you with Nathan, see if, something might be able to come of that. If nothing else, he can put you in touch with some folks that are with those NFL front offices. So, um, Cade, let's let our listeners know again the podcast, where they can find it, but also all things Kade Nix. If they want to connect, find out more, if they want to start reading your columns regularly, how do they do all of that?
So the podcast, it's called The Draft Room. It's this handle on, Instagram and stuff like that. It's The Draft Room Pod. So if you want to go on Instagram, you can find it there. That's where you post, polls, questionnaires, stuff like that. So you can actually get involved with the podcast a little bit. But like I said, it's on YouTube, Spotify podcast, Apple. Um, so it's on pretty much everywhere you want your find your podcast. And then for me, I'm on Instagram. I'm very active and on Twitter. It's at Cage Draft Room at Cage Draft Room on Instagram and Twitter, and that's where I post my rankings, my scouting reports, my thoughts, stuff like that. So that's where you can find everything.
Well, Cade, thanks so much for spending some time with us today. All the best moving forward, and keep us posted. Let's get you back for an update. Maybe see how some of your prospects play out. I'm going to ask you one more question, and this might not be in your niche. Um, I like to complain about the professionals that the networks use for their picks, their wagering picks. And I think some of the best ones, supposedly the best ones, their success rate, if they're really, really good, it's like 55 or 56%. It's hardly better than flipping a coin. Okay. I think I'm that good too. Okay. Do you do any of that? Pick winners against the point spread, or do you leave that to the so-called experts?
It's really interesting you brought that up because starting next week, we're starting a betting segment on the podcast for picks like that, So we'll see how I do. I mean, um, I don't think I mean it's tough. We'll see how we do.
All right. Well, if you need another voice, if you need a broken down, longtime high school football coach to put his picks out there, give me a call. I'd be honored to join that segment. Kade Nix, Kade Nix draft, Cade's draft room, the draft room pod. Thanks again for sharing, and all the best.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, for our listeners, we do this every single week with Tech Tuesday, and just about every day trying to share stories and best practices. We also post all of our podcasts to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. Thanks again for listening. Hopefully, you'll come back for our next episode of Tech Tuesday on the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time. Wow, very cool stuff. Check out Kade Nix. That's the Draft Room Pod. and then on Instagram and Twitter at Cade's Draft Room. Before we go, let's give a draft to our sponsors. We want to thank Gipper. We want to thank Huddle and Hometown Ticketing. I want to thank Snap, Raise, and Vital Signs Wall of Fame. I want to say thank you to Home Campus, to Sideline Interactive, athleticsurveys.com, Ohio University's online masters in athletic administration. And let's give a shout out to K-12 Sports Tech. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time on Tech Tuesday on the Educational 80 Podcast.